Now I request our dear TOSA President Garu to do the honors.
డాక్టర్ విజయేంద్రరావు గారు కొత్తగూడెం పట్టణంలో సీనియర్ మోస్ట్ ఆర్థోపెడిషియన్ ఇన్ ద ఖమ్మం డిస్ట్రిక్ట్, కంబైన్డ్ ఖమ్మం డిస్ట్రిక్ట్. He is associated with Rotarian Club. He presented many disabled persons through Rotarian, and also he is associated with IMA activities, sir, and many more social activities. Today we are honoring as sir is senior most orthopedician from Khammam district. Thank you, sir. Please take over. Please put. Next, Ravindranath sir. Sir is
retired HOD, now working in Bhaskara Medical College. He is a great human being, excellent academician, a great knowledge and lot of patience. Very keen knowledge in the orthopedics, and we still follow his teachings, and I'm sure many young orthopedicians are following his rare surgeries which described and showed to the younger orthopedic surgeons. Now I request our organizing chairman Dr. PNS Prasad Garu to do the honors.
next our పేర్ల ఆదిశంకర్రావు గారు, one of the senior most orthopedician from Khammam town. He is one of the director in Mamata Medical College, associated with many activities, social activities like Satyasai Trust and Yoga Kendra and many more activities.
Very well is Dr. Rotarian past district governor Dr. Vijayendra Garu. So he is not only doing social service in India or Khammam, he is doing it in abroad also. He has gone many times to Africa. One of the visit I was with him, that was Nigeria in 2012. So not only Andhra is benefited by his skills, outside the India is also it's benefited. I am really happy to be associated with him. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Swa, Secretary IOI as a chairperson of this session. May I now request Dr. Madan Singh as the chairperson of the session.
Good morning, everybody. We have a very interesting session lined up and with truly eminent speakers. Dr. Govardhan is here. Is he coming?
Respected chairperson, I thank TOSACON President, Secretary and Dr. Satish. And I'm going to speak on fractures comes in every day, every trochanter fracture is a different. If you see, we get such kind of fixations and problems of trochanteric fractures. Whenever the new baby comes, everybody tries to fix that their own ways without knowing anything. And then we get lots of complications of such trochanteric fractures. The osteoporosity and other factors, then we do this way, then do this way. We have to go for this finally to get into action. We get trochanteric fractures and so many diseases, so many types of designs of the fracture geometry. Then we get this, then we try to fix this. You get broken implants, still the patient gets into a virus and its fracture unites. So what is this exactly? What is this happening? So when I started doing this for the trochanteric fracture in 2006 and the patient came after 10 years with no problem of any change of pattern of fixation. So that's the time we started thinking that these trochanteric fractures, especially unstable trochanteric fractures, needs something to give extra to get a good result. So what are the rationale of all fractures on unstable fractures should be make to the stability. All fragments must be fixed. The lateral wall and the posterior medial wall reconstruction is very important so that you can mobilize patient earlier. And all these will come to the when you stabilize all these fragments. So what are these advantages of augmentation? One is all fragments must be compressed. You know, the trochanter lateral wall and trochanter is shattered. So that shattering will not give any stability if you don't stabilize, or your DHS or alone PFN or associated any other lateral plate will not give any stability unless you know the principle of stabilizing it. So it gives better results and breakout chances are very less. I'm not saying 100% it is foolproof that after doing this, but the chances of healing are much better and as compared to the loss of reduction is also less. So lateral wall and posterior medial wall, the coronal split of the greater trochanter and avulsion of the greater trochanter, all these factors will add to your problem as well as instability. So the 3D CT is important. People are very reluctant to go for a trochanteric CT scan. Those who are doing for calcaneus, who are doing for proximal tibia, so why not go for trochanter? It is also intra-articular, which is a devastated fracture, and you don't know what is exactly happening on table. If you take X-rays, you will not be able to judge. You will not be able to. Well, we'll go ahead. If you come to this patient, see this X-rays. It's very simple looking. Anybody will think, oh, this is okay. This is we can just pass a nail or a plate. DHS will do. And once you take a CT scan of the same patient, you will see what it is exactly. Your change of perception changes. So you need to assess all these fragments of whether you will be able to do any justice or able to reduce this fracture, whether you will be able to give a good result to the patient has come to you with the faith that you will heal. So that all these patterns will give you a lots of problem. So anybody in West, what they will think, he will do a joint replacement. Why not do just fix it and just wait for unnecessary non-union and go for repeated surgery? He will think of doing a joint replacement. So I say no. So we will do augmentation where it's very simple. In the same case, we just pass a tension band wire and very simple. It is not some rocket science to in that. So we just go to a good stability and give an excellent result. Another patient with a very high trochanteric fracture. If you see again, there is a split. On previously on X-rays you will not be able to see, but you see this split of the trochanter, which is again very problematic. You will not be able to pass even a PFN because you have to pass through this fracture site. So that again will cause a problem. So with doing this with a long nail and a tension band will give you excellent result. Another patient, very high trochanteric fracture. If you have any pointer, yeah. If you see very high, almost like a high above the lesser trochanter. So in that, what to do it? So that time again, you see there is a split there. There is a split. There is a split. So it's a square fracture. So we'll not be able to give any justice. So what we started doing is, put a lag screw there. A simple lag screw will give you a stability. Then pass a tension band wire over that. And then pass a nail. And that will give you excellent stability. So the stability is very important for this lateral wall. The lateral wall was, Red Gottfried was telling for many years in 2004 that take care of lateral wall first, but everybody was worried about the medial wall, medial calcar, medial support was very important, prevent virus. So all these are detrimental also with the lateral wall. So lateral wall and the posterior medial wall both must be reconstructed. Another patient will see here, see the split, see the trochanter split there, big huge posterior medial fragment. You will not be able to reduce it unless you get a good position. You see these are the 2-3 lakhs, 2 years old patient. So you can stabilize still. Don't try to replace it because nothing like a femoral head natural, which will stabilize it. Of course, you require some equipments, some instruments for these to reduce these fractures. You pass the wire. These new things have come out with the new device, which are wire passer. I'll show you if we have time in video so that we can see how the nails have been passed and the wire is passed to this. It is a percutaneous way of doing it without disturbing any soft tissue around. Encerclage was given a very bad domain when it was not done properly. It was as if you are stripping everything, but it is done in the percutaneous way so that you can stabilize it. We have published this in August 2017, the augmentation comparative study, 84 cases, AP split or a lateral split of the trochanter. That is also very important because many times a well done PFN, because of not knowing the fracture geometry, will go into fail, and then you will blame the osteoporosis, patient walked over it, then it has got some G effect on that. So all these are giving you. So medial calcar screw must be stabilized with the medial posterior wall, and additional encerclage will stabilize the lateral wall and the posterior medial fragment. So thank you very much, but I'll show you the video here. I just missed it, but it's very, how I do it. So this is this wire passer which is made by a Synthes, which gives you excellent stability. Just passing through a stab incision which already taken by the passing of the. So this wire passer will go from here and this wire will come here without any damage to your soft tissues. Just a small, it will come out. Then 2 wires are coming out. Then this third wire, the second wire end will go from lateral to medial. So this will stabilize on the lateral side, and then 2 wire heads will come up in the anterior part of the. So take a small incision. This wire is pulled from anterior so that you will get a loop of wire here, and then because we have to wipe around the bone without taking any stripping of the muscles. So we have to make this step, and then 2 ends of the wire come here, and there is a percutaneous way of twisting it. This twister is also we're doing very percutaneously. So after that you stabilize it, just twist it, and then this is the way the wires are being passed on this fragment. And these are the small stab incisions without anything, just 1 or 2 stitches will take care of your destabilizer. Thank you very much.
Respected chairpersons, at the outset, I would like to thank the organizers, especially Dr. Prasad, for the invitation for attending this conference. Coming to the complication of the PFN, this is a 10-year-old nailing done. Patient was probably walking up with the nail all these days, and one time it gave way. And as you can see, the entry is done from the tip of the trochanter, and hence the proximal fragment has gone into varus. So I changed the entry by putting a Steinmann pin anteroposteriorly, made an entry from the piriformis fossa, freshened the ends, put in a plate in addition to the PFN. This is the immediate post-operative X-ray. This is at around 4 months time, and this is the function at 4 months time. So complications do happen just because of a simple reason that the entry was not proper. Another case, again done about 10 to 12 years back, immediately after a year this broke, and again this was treated with a PFN. Similarly, in the same fashion, you can see the anteroposterior 2 wires which is preventing the lateral entry, and this is the guide wire which gives me the direction of the neck, and these K wires were replaced with a polar screw subsequently, and it has been treated and subsequently the fracture has united. Just not taking care to align the leg properly before distal locking can give a rotational malalignment like this. Another case, let me restrict to only the supracondylar fracture. Open nailing done with a thin PFN, other fracture healed, but this fracture failed to heal. There is a bad valgus deformity and a thin nail instability was the cause. What I did, I used Palisade polar screws, just reduce the canal in the distal fragment by 2 anteroposterior and 2 lateromedial screws and did a supracondylar nailing, again bone grafting and plating. This is the immediate postoperative X-ray. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4. They are the 2 mediolateral and 2 anteroposterior polar screws just to put the nail to one corner of the bone so that the canal size is reduced. And this is at just around 9 months time. You can see the fracture has consolidated. And this is after the implants have been removed after about a year after the surgery. Complications are mainly due to technical problems or due to some avoidable problems. So let's see what can be done. This is a very huge list. I don't want to read all of them. Let me take as many of them as possible in my talk. If you are doing regularly nailing, have your own set. Then only you will love your set and take care of the set. If you use a borrowed set or a loaner set, then you know how you will use it yourself and you can imagine your colleagues how they use it without any respect for the implants and instruments, and you will miss the right instrument on table because every time we cannot go and check when we put it for autoclave. Coming to the reduction, it has to be medial and anterior reduction has to be 100%. That's why Dr. Sunil Kulkarni showed few cases where he has put in a screw. If you put in a screw by the side of the nail, that reduces the translation of the neck also. That also gives more contact. And as I said, adding a polar screw, the nail is pushed to one side. Similarly, here also, by putting a polar sort of screw by the side of the nail, also the augmentation works. The screw should be inferior or central in AP and central in lateral or slightly posterior. Tip apex distance should be less than 20 millimeter in AP and lateral added together. It has to be as subcondylar as possible. The nail should be slightly projecting out at the entry side. If it is inside, you can see that medialization will happen even in spite of a nailing being done. If you do all these things, whether the patient is 100 years or 80 years or 60 years of osteoporotic or anything, they heal beautifully well if you take care of all of them. Some of the complication I regularly see is first and foremost is varus. It could be due to positional problem or with the entry. Second problem I see is the inability to pass both the screws. The surgeon ends up passing only one of the screw instead of both of them. Again, this is due to the same positional or entry side problem. Third is lateralization of the shaft. You don't know why and how the lateralization happens. Inadvertently it happens during the surgery. I'll show with some animations. And patient will never be able to walk even if the fractures unite. Here is one such case. You can see on the right side, the shaft has got lateralized so much. Even if though the fracture has united, the patient will never have a normal gait. The last one I am taking is longer screw. If you are using a screw more than 100 millimeter in a patient less than 6 feet tall, means something is wrong. You have to go back and check some step you have missed it properly. So many of the reason is not using the centering awl properly. So the nail acts as a spacer and pushes the lateral wall away, and that is the main cause. And second one is the varus reduction. So always check if you have to use a screw more than 100 millimeter. Entry side getting lateralized. See, this is my own case. I have taken the tip of the trochanter entry, but the bone is softer outside. What happens is when I try to ream, the reamer reams more on the outer side. So this is how inadvertently, though your entry when passing the guide pin was proper, but subsequently it has gone outside. If the entry is in line with the middle canal, screw position will be proper. The inferior screw, look at the inferior screw, it's in the inferior part of the head and neck as well as inferior part of the neck. It's kissing the neck. But if the entry becomes lateral, see the inferior screw. It is though it is inferior in the part of the neck, but it has already come to the center of the head. If there is little varus, it will go to the superior part of the head. So when you pass the guide wire, if your guide wire is going in the center of the head or superior part of the head, that means that your eye entry is wrong or your reduction is in varus. So you have to check at that side. How you can overcome? So lateralization can be overcome by pressing from the side. Press more medially to ream towards the neck. That's one. Second is, if you have already made a hole, then you can nibble out the medial thick cortical bone. This I have done on very few occasions, but if you take care properly, nothing will happen. Best thing is, take piriformis fossa entry. Once I started taking piriformis fossa entry, all these problems automatically got solved. Because medullary canal is in line with the piriformis fossa. So if you take piriformis fossa, though everybody says take medial to the tip of the trochanter. See, when you are reaming a 16 or 17 millimeter reamer, so it gets automatically aligned properly. Whether you take medial to the tip of the trochanter or medial through the piriformis fossa, automatically your all problems will get solved. So this is how I take a entry from the piriformis fossa. See, I can take a entry from the fracture site also, but don't take the entry from fracture site. Try to reduce with K-wires, fix them with K-wires, then make an entry. Second thing is passing the fracture through fracture site, nail through the fracture site. People think that it is an osteoporotic bone, so they just shovel in a 16 or 70 millimeter nail through the fracture site. That distracts the fracture. You have to make a proper canal first, then only you should pass the nail. In this case, what has happened, you can see the nail is acting as a spacer at the fracture site, and it is preventing the bone ends, fractured ends to come nearer, and lateralization of the shaft has happened. Subsequently, varus also has happened. So, now other problem is the fracture gets very well reduced on table. When you adduct it, it looks okay on table. And adduction only happens only 20 to 30 degree, but when you try to ream, the fracture opens up because there is no resistance for the fracture when you put the reamer of 16 or 17 millimeter. That is the reason why I always tell that even in a undisplaced fracture, please put in 2 K-wires. That will act as some counter support when you are reaming the fragment. And this perineal post which is in the center also prevents more adduction happening. When you try to adduct this acts as a lever or fulcrum upon which the fracture gets opened superiorly. So this is what happens, and the fracture goes into varus, and the person passes the nail in this fashion, and when he passes the screw, longer screw will be passed, and there is already varus. This is how the fracture at the end looks because of all these problems which I have demonstrated by animation. Even if the surgeon at this stage realizes that the fracture is going into varus, he abducts the limb because he has already passed the nail, so there is no problem for him to abduct the limb. What happens is fracture opens up inferiorly also at this stage. This causes the fracture to get distracted both superiorly and inferiorly, and much more longer nail has to be used, and lateralization of the shaft happens. How we can recognize the lateralization of the shaft? Post-operatively, take a pelvis with both hips picture. When you draw a line from the outermost part of the pelvis, it just grazes the lateralmost part of the trochanter. Here, if I draw a line, it passes through the center, you can see. So much of lateralization has happened in this case. Perineal post is in the center. This is another problem. You cannot adduct it. Even if you adduct, only about 30 degrees of adduction possible. I normally take the perineal post eccentrically toward the opposite side, distal tuberosity. Even if the pelvis tilts about 10 to 15 degree, you can see that so much of adduction is possible, and there is no fracture with the thigh acting as a fulcrum, the perineal post acting as a fulcrum against the thigh to open the fracture. This is how I position the patient. You can see that the perineal post, there is so much of space between the thigh. I cannot move. There is so much of space between the thigh. So much of adduction is possible without the perineal post touching the thigh. Lateralization of the shaft, again, you can see that when we draw a line from the outermost part of the pelvis, normal side, it grazes or it tangentially passes through the trochanter, whereas here due to lateralization, it is passing through the shaft. Newer implant doesn't mean that the problems have been solved. The same thing you can see, lateralization of the shaft can happen even with a newer implant. If your technique is wrong, implant is not going to take care of this. So you have to take care of all the steps while doing the surgery. Reduction in varus. It is always an invitation for the screw to back out or the Z effect to happen. See, the superior fracture has opened up in this case, and this is the final result. Is the Z effect has started. Recently, last week only, I think 2-3 days back, Sunil is there on this group. Dr. Gadegone posted, for healthy criticism, he sent this picture. Then, if you see this X-ray closely, there is an opening at the entry site. You can see that closely at the entry site. This is opening is because of not using the reamer. The patient was 82 years old. So, to do the surgery quickly, the surgeon bypassed using the centering awl. What I said, appears that the centering reamer not used properly. The nail is acting as a spacer. See the time, 12:42 in the afternoon, 12:44 my reply. 12:45 he says, Shivshankar, you caught me red-handed. So, analyzing whatever your mistakes is to be taken care. Subsequently, I wrote, shaft has got lateralized. Longer helical blade has to be used, causing stress on the blade nail and the blade junction to slide out. I would like to see a pelvis with both X-ray to know the amount of lateralization this helical blade. This blade has high chances of penetration due to stress. The longer the blade you use, the sliding back in the nail will become not proper. If a shorter nail is used, a shorter screw is used, it easily slides. But if you use a longer slide, the junction where the screw has to slide, there is lot of stresses, so it will not slide properly, and that will either penetrate into the joint or the fracture will go into varus and the cutting out superiorly happens. So varus is due to various reasons what I discussed. Varus causing relative lengthening. See, a well reduced fracture, this is the screw length, but a varus fracture, this is the screw length you have to use. If you measure, there is a relatively longer screw you have used. That is the reason why I said if you are using a screw more than 100 millimeter, double check always. This is what I was telling earlier. If the screw length, the lever arm, what is called as a lamp post effect. If the lamp post has to be longer, the nail also has to be thicker and broader and longer. So this, if it is a same nail if you are using, and if the lamp post is high, longer in this case, then there is a jamming happens because of the distance away from the center or the sliding mechanism happening. This junctional area will have lot of stress concentration happening, and the screw sliding will be very, very less. This is a recent addition, though I have been talking about the reduction all these years. Recently we have been talking about the negative, neutral and positive cortical support. A beak going inside is a negative cortical support. Beak touching the distal fragment is a neutral cortical support. Beak outside, a valgus reduction is a positive cortical support. Recently, an article has come which says that positive cortical support is better, neutral cortical support is fine, and negative cortical support is wrong. So, a negative cortical support you can see are a varus reduction, the beak going, it's not diamond Houston osteotomy, it's always varus. This is bad. This is another X-ray. Again, you can see a new negative cortical support superiorly opened. There is varus already. So the sliding mechanism will be poor. So there is a more force going downwards causing much more varus. And this all will lead to varus and the implant to back out or the Z effect to happen. Superiorly, see here in this case, superiorly it has cut out because it could no longer slide. A well aligned nail and screw will slide in this fashion, otherwise the load will be transmitted in this fashion causing the superior cutting out. Always avoid varus. See, here is a beak which is going into the distal medullary canal. I got it, pulled it out. Another case you can see, always don't accept the one beak going inside, always accept this. This I have been showing since 2007. This is not a today's X-ray I am showing. This another X-ray, this finally it heals around the nail beautifully. Screw which is longer outside is also very, very bad. Rocking of the screw cuts the bone purchase which has, and the screw can slide out. always release the traction on table and tighten the screw. If you don't do this, the screw will be outside in the immediate post-operative picture. And if the screws are outside like this, they rock in and out and they lose the purchase, and the problem will be either the screws will cut out or the Z effect will happen. Even in undisplaced fracture, you have to fix with KY, then only you should do the nailing. And fixing the fracture always helps you to get a beautiful hole for the proximal end of the nail. And you have to compress on table. This is a 3-month post-operative X-ray. There is no screw backing out. And you can see the fracture has been compressed on table beautifully. That's why the screws are not backed out at the end of the surgery. See, this is another X-ray. Immediate post-operative X-ray have beautifully compressed on table. At 14 months, not even a millimeter the screw has slid out in a 75-year-old lady. Means whatever the fracture is begging for the compression, you have to compress on table. And I will end with this because how I do compression. You can see that I release the traction of the leg, then I compress the first screw on the last screw, the cervical screw on the derotation screw alternatively, and till I am satisfied, I keep compressing. This is only possible with a PFN. It's not possible with your any of the newer implants. That's the reason why I say PFN is the gold standard. Whatever the newer implants are available in the market are just to make money. They have put them in the, everybody has to make some money. So to have their own product or to sell a hip implant to you, they have come out because of the problem with the patent law. Nobody can copy and sell a PFN. In India it is different, but elsewhere in the world, PFN including derotation screw is patented. Till that patent period is gone, nobody can manufacture. That's why they come and sell you newer products, blaming the disadvantage of PFN. Like they say, Z effect happens with PFN. There are 2 screws, one of them can go and another slides back. Even with a single screw, the single screw can go inside or come out. So don't blindly accept whatever these company people say. You have to think your own. Then if you do the surgery without skipping any steps, you will get beautifully results. Thank you very much.
Dr. Govardhan, you're welcome, sir. And we invite you to present your talk on hip arthroplasty and complex pertrochanteric fractures.
May I now request our chairperson to present a small token of appreciation to Dr. B. Shivashankar.